Hello all, welcome to the Sociologist. Today we are going to discuss about the sociological analysis of caste census. So, as you already know that the Prime Minister of India announced that we are going to conduct a caste census along with the next census. So, you might be already knowing what is census. Census is nothing but it's an enumeration of population data, right? So, along with the population data, if we are collecting the caste based data, it is known as caste census. So when it look at the historical background of census or the caste census, we in India we started census in 1881. So from 1881 we started census activity, but the Britishers along with the census used to collect the data of caste also. So we used to conduct the caste census along with the decennial census. But however, after independence, that is the after independence, the first census happened in 1951. So after independence, we stopped the practice of collecting caste-based data along with the census data enumeration. But however, one thing you should remember that though we have stopped the collection of caste-based data for the general public, we used to continue these practices for SC and ST community alone. Okay, so though we have started the 1881, from 1881 we have started collecting data for caste census. The practice continues till 1931. And one thing you need to remember that in 1941 there was no census because of Second World War incidents. So the last census data which have a caste-based socio-economic caste analysis was 1931. The interestingly, one important factor you should understand that even the Mandal Commission, which is 1980s Mandal Commission, even given recommended the OBC reservation based on the data we have collected in 1931. So now you understood the context why people are demanding for a caste-based data, or what is the relevant of a caste census into next coming census. So before we are going to, we'll analyze what is the definition of caste census. So caste census is nothing but an official enumeration of the population based on self-identified caste affiliations and aim to collect the detailed demographic data. So here one catch point you should remember: the caste identification happened during caste identification happened through self identifications. So whenever the caste enumerator or the census enumerator comes to your house, so they will ask you what is your caste, and you can tell the caste you belongs to. So here is a trap, because the enumerator may not be aware about the all the castes available or the caste existing in India. And many people identify themselves as different caste, and there are many subcaste and jadis in India. So that is also making the situation little more confusing, and we will discuss all this aspect in the later part of the video. Okay, so with respect to caste, another historical background is that, as I already told you, that the last census, caste based census, happened in 1931 census. From 1951 onwards we have stopped. So after independence, we have stopped caste-based census, and we only conducted this caste-based census after post-independence for SC and ST. So their data we are used to collect. And why there is a recent demand for caste-based data is that the state government, though the central government is stopped the practices of caste-based census, the state government used to conduct caste-based caste surveys. So the state government, for example, Bihar, Karnataka, all these states conducted caste survey shown that there is an increasing of OBC caste. For example, in the Bihar state survey, it shows that 63% of the Bihar population are economically and educationally backward sections. So economically and educationally backward sections has been 63%. In Karnataka, as per the caste survey, it shows that around 68% are belong to economically and backward caste section. So comparing to 1931 data, there is a huge increase of OBC sections. So this data disparity led to the wider discussion of need of a present caste based census in the present coming along with the upcoming census. So what is the significance of caste? Before we discuss about the caste census, let us understand what is the significance of caste in Indian society. So one of the important aspect is that caste is the important stratification system in Indian society. As you know that caste is a hierarchical and birth based identification, right? So it is also linked with the caste identity in India is also linked with your status of social status, your educational aspects, your opportunity, and even your marital alliance. As you know that the recent survey also shows 90% of weddings or 90% of marriage in India still happen in intra-caste marriage. So people marry within the caste even today. So 90% of the people are marrying within the caste. So caste is so much important aspects for Indian stratification system, as well as with respect to daily life impact, your daily life opportunities, and your everyday education opportunity, employment opportunity, and many other aspects. Even today, caste is influencing. So many people, Safai Karmacharis, all these people, basically they are employed based on the caste. Okay, so that is why caste is important factor. Another important factor is that there is a caste-based inequality in India. So since there is a caste-based inequality in India is highly linked with the social aspect also. So caste-based inequality, and there is also recent demand for subcategorization of caste. The recent report of Justice Rohini Committee also recommended for a subcategorization of OBC reservation and subcategorization of SC and ST, because the benefit of the caste reservation or state affirmative actions are taken or taken by very few populations. So we need to redistribute the caste-based affiliation or the government affiliation to all those people which are not getting the benefit yet. So we need to understand the social inequality. If you wanted to understand the social inequality in the present society or Indian society, you need to understand what is caste. And also the identification and mobilization aspect. With respect to caste, you can say that caste census is considered as one of the important tool for social mobility as per M.N. Srinivas. So M.N. Srinivas itself said that the caste census is used as a social mobility tool during the British period, because those who are after the caste census, those who are in a dominant caste or those who are in a higher population, they used to claim higher status. So it is a tool for Sanskritization. So caste determine your mobility, social mobility, and social status, and everything will be determined by your caste census. Then why a caste census is required at present? So one of the important aspect why the caste census is required right now is that one important aspect is data gap, because the last data with respect to caste we have 1931. Though we have done a socio-economic caste census during 2011, the biggest problem with the socio-economic census we have conducted in 2011 is that the data is not verifiable, or the data is not reliable, because in itself 2011 census itself, remember this data, the people identify the caste along the people identify their caste are, as per the socio-economic caste census, there are around 45 lakh caste in India. 45 lakh caste in India, because people started identifying themselves with the caste whatever they wanted. Okay, so that led to the identifying around 45 different caste existing in India. So government itself given in affidavit to Supreme Court that this data is not completely reliable. So there is a data gap. If the data is not proper, okay, if the data is not proper, there is a problem with the implementation of policies. So when you are making a policy for caste-based social mobility or social equality, or addressing the vulnerable section, if you are not having an up-to-date data, this will lead to poor implementation of policy, or this will lead to an ideal situation of guesstimates. So what is guesstimate? So this will lead to a situation of guesstimate. So guesstimate is a situation where you start guessing the data rather than proper estimating the data. You are guessing the data. So that will lead to wider impact on the policy implementation, and this also will impact the target policies. For example, how this is impact the target of policies, because if you are not identifying the proper data, you will be, now we are giving a reservation for OBC, but many sub OBC community or many caste comes under OBC yet to receive the reservation benefits. So that is why we are demanding a subcategorization of caste. So all this has a wider impact, and we also need to go for a wider, evidence-based, governance and data creations. All these are important aspects, and this will also expose the that caste-based census will expose intra-caste inequality. So intra-caste inequality and need for, as I already told, the subcategorization of reservations, and this will also help us to identify the exact who is getting the benefit. The government is doing a lot of affirmative actions, and who is getting benefit, and this will lead to a kind of a social auditing. So this help in a social auditing of government affirmative actions. So who got what? So this will again expose the inequality and hidden inequality present within the caste. So these are the important aspects with respect to sociological thinkers perspective. About the caste census, Ambedkar, the first of all, let us discuss about Ambedkar. So Ambedkar considered caste census is an important tool for eradicating this inequality. How? Because once you understand the caste census, it will give you a socio-economic data. Based on that, you can demand more justice. Based on that, you can demand more affirmative actions. Those is help in social mobility and eradication of caste. So that is one of the biggest aspects why Ambedkar supporting a caste based or caste census, which is actually exposing the structural oppression and enable social justice. So he saw a data is a tool for liberation. So caste based data is a tool for liberation according to B.R. Ambedkar. But G.S. Gurye is the viewpoint that caste is a very complex structure in India. So enumerating the caste, it is very integral part of the Indian social system. So caste is everywhere in Indian society. So it's used to say that caste is India is endangered with caste. So caste is everywhere. So since if we are conducting a caste based data, this will overexpose the caste aspect and reduce the national unity aspect, because people will be divided based on caste. So this will impact the national unity. So instead of finding the caste census, we don't have to find the caste census, because if we are finding caste census, people start demanding more affirmative action, more reservation. This will lead to social economical imbalance and impact the social national unity. That is the viewpoint of G.S. Gurye. M.N. Srinivas seen caste census as a tool for Sanskritization, because in the British time, as per the caste census, people or the community, caste-based communities, used to demand for higher status by citing the data. So this is an important tool for Sanskritization and dominant caste. Okay, if the one of the criteria for dominant caste is that political power and huge population and wealth. So population is one of the important aspects of a dominant caste demand. So that will give you, upward mobility or Sanskritization, you can say. So Iravati Karve has seen the view that she says that importance of caste based data is that caste is a broader perspective in India. There are many subcaste and jadis in India. So universal enumeration or a standardized enumeration of caste is very difficult, and it is very difficult process. So that was the view of Iravati Karve. Even the view of Satish Deshpande. So Satish Deshpande says that with respect to caste, so caste politics in India or caste in India moved from aggregation to caste in politics moved from aggregation to disaggregation. What is mean by aggregation to disaggregation? So earlier people used to come together, caste used to come together to get political power. But at present, caste is disaggregating. That means people are subcategorization. People are demanding for subcategorization for more political power. So earlier caste, there was a caste aggregation in Indian society. Now you can see a caste disaggregation. So earlier people used to come together. Since the population are more, people used to claim more political power. But now people don't want to do it like that. People want to go for a disaggregation. That means people are identifying themselves as a subcategorization, so that they can identify and they will get more affirmative action from the government. So that is the viewpoint of Satish Deshpande with respect to caste-based census. So another viewpoint is that ignoring caste-based census or ignoring the caste does not erase it. So you cannot erase the caste with just by ignoring the reality that caste is existing. Or you can also write the viewpoint of J.H. Hutton. So J.H. Hutton, he is a British anthropologist. Also is a British anthropologist, and he was also a civil servant. In 1931, he was the census commissioner. So his view that it is impossible to get rid of an institution by ignoring its presence. So J.H. Hutton sees a view that it is impossible to get rid of an institution by ignoring the institutions. So caste census is very relevant because if you are not taking the caste census, we do not have, we cannot get rid of the caste. That is the important viewpoint given by J.H. Hutton. So what is the concern with the identification or the present caste census? The one of the biggest problem with the present caste census is that once we have identified the caste again, this will deepen the inequalities, or there is a chance that caste census will deepen the caste based divide, because people will start identifying again, people will start identifying themselves as a different subcaste. So this will widen the socio-economic divide and caste based divide. So that is the one of the concern with respect to caste based census. Another important aspect is the political misuse, because once the caste is identified based on different subcastes, people will go for caste based politics. So political parties will demand more affirmative action for one particular caste based on the population. So that will lead to political misuse of the caste, and this also will lead to classification issue, because one of the important aspect is that the enumerate, basically the caste based enumerators are school teachers. So these enumerators do not have much knowledge about the caste. So they do not know, there is no exhaustive list of caste data present in Indian society. So what will happen is that whatever the caste the people say, they will collect with they will identify that particular caste. So the problem here is that now the classification issue, the problem is that as for I already discussed socioeconomic caste census, what we have seen that we have seen 45 different type of caste present in India. So 45 lakh different type of caste present in India means that people identify whatever caste they wanted. So this will again lead to a problem of classification, and the data reliability issue is also there. And once the caste is identified, that will lead to more demand for subcategorization, because people wanted affirmative action from the government. So there will be more demand for subcategorization. And earlier, people, before British, during the British period, with respect to caste, as M.N. Srinivas said that this is a tool for Sanskritization. But there is also criticism that after independence, since the people wanted to identify as a lower caste because to get affirmative actions. For example, reservation for UPSC examination. So to get reservation, people identify themselves as lower caste. So this will lead to retribalization. So people identify, even the upper caste people identify them as lower caste to get the government affirmation. So that is again lead to other problem, or there is a problem with quota within the quota, more demand of caste based segmentation, or more demand of affirmative action will be there. Okay, then now what we can be addressing the concerns around the caste census are basically one viewpoint, the de-essentialized caste. To de-essentialize caste, or to get rid of the caste, we need to understand the present aspect of the caste. See, if you are, I already told you, if you are not enumerating the caste census, or if you are not recognizing that existence of caste system, we cannot get rid of the caste system. To get rid of the caste system, we need to understand the present status of the caste system. That should be there, and we need to have a valid data. So validity of data should be ensured along with the sociologist, because the classification process is very difficult. So we need to ensure that the proper caste based data has been collected, and it should be for justice oriented framing. Why? Because this should not be a tool for caste debate, it should be a tool for government affirmation, and more of a caste based social mobility status. So a data driven and ethical data driven governance approach, where the data made sure that the data remain anonymous, and it should only used for the governance purpose and a policy making purpose. In that way we can avoid many political based movement and everything. And it is also should be, and there should be a deliberate engagement with the civil society and scholars to make their voice heard, and also create a wider discussion about the problem of caste, as well as make them aware about the all this aspect. And we also need to understand that social inequality not only based on caste, it is intersectional. It is based on class, gender, and regional factors and religious factors. So there is a cross cutting identities existing in India. So this is a wider aspect of social inequality. So it should not be just reduced to caste-based inequality. So that is another aspect. With respect to conclusion, what you can say that caste census is a sociological mirror. So caste is a reality in Indian society. As I already told, 90% of marriage happen within the caste even today. So caste is a sociological mirror. It is a social, caste is a deep rooted inequality, and it's so enumerating caste based census is a very relevant because that really show who we are, and based on that we can take further policies. And however, we also remember that caste is a double edged impact. So by using the caste census, either this will lead to reinforcement of caste identities, or we can use it for get the caste ridden from the Indian society. So outcome of the caste census will be dependent on how we are using the data. Okay, so we need to use the data to get rid of the caste system from Indian society rather than reinforcing the caste system in Indian society. And we need to have a responsible use of the caste data. This should be ethical data practice. It should be transparent and should be used for the further affirmative action and subcategorization of caste and reaching the benefits to the poorest of the poor and those who haven't get the government affirmative actions or affirmative benefit. It should be reached to those people. And path forward is that the caste data to inform the inclusive policies rather than enrich the solidify existing identity. It should be used for those who are to bring those who are out of the government benefits. That should be the use or the ultimate aim of the sociological aim of the caste based census. So what we have done today is that it is a caste sociological analysis of caste based census. So anyway, the government decided to conduct the sociological caste based census along with the next census. Okay, I hope you understood. Thank you.